There's amazing stuff that we're actually doing in data protection. And I really want to thank John and Gene to come up here and actually share some of their experiences with us. You know, John, I'm going to start with you. NetJets. Your clientele utilizes jets about the same way that this room uses Ubers.
Right.
And so you have a unique use case scenario, especially on data protection. Also the fact that your branch offices can be flying at 30,000 feet or anywhere actually in the world. So I'd love for you to just share with the audience a little bit about your journey relative to data protection and how you utilized Zscaler relative to the goals that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely, Willie. So, and the first answer is no. I didn't fly on one of our planes out here, so we don't get to do that. We get to catch them when we move an aircraft, and a lot of people don't understand we're a private airline today. We have today around 1,000 flights. About 640 of those have people on it, and then we have about 400 moving aircraft to position them. Some of the things that we did when I joined in April of 2020 is we looked around and we said, hey, we have a really good program, but the program is focused on keeping the walls up, keeping the bad guys out, and that kind of a basis. And when I talked to each of the executive leaders, they kept saying, well, we're really concerned about the data, the information itself that we have on our customer base. So we configure an aircraft for an individual customer. So if you think about the amount of information we need on a person, like what kind of magazines do they like to read? What are they like in terms of drinks on the plane, or what type of food, or who are their family members that are going to be flying with them? So we have this myriad of information that we keep on every individual that flies with us, and it's super sensitive. We fly an elite group of people around the world. We have around 10 to 12,000 customers at this point in time, and so what we did was we said, okay, the proof of concept to actually bring Zscaler in was a data-oriented concept. We had a red teamer and we said, how much can you pull out of Salesforce today? And they were able to pull 1,000 records at a time. We had no log of it. We had no way to tell what was going on, where the data was going. And we utilized the Zscaler team to actually prove not only could we see it, we could actually stop it. And within the first few months of putting it in, we had an interesting thing happen because we weren't trying to solve data classification. We were actually trying to change culture. And we had a hit on a sales rep who was trying to send to 100 customers their own personal charity golf tournament. And they were trying to do it in Gmail, their own personal Gmail. We had it configured so we could see the email get drafted, and then Zscaler would not allow the individual to send it. So we had all the evidence to go have a conversation with this individual. So it proved itself out right away within the first few months.
Fantastic, John. Really appreciate that. Maybe we change gears. Gene, Equinix, most folks that arrived here for this session probably passed through some form of Equinix digital infrastructure on the way here. So number one, you're on your own cloud journey. I'd love for you to actually share a little bit about that. But probably the other thing that is important actually for us and customers like both you and John is that you've been a design partner for us and been with us from the beginning with our posture control product. So could you share a little bit about essentially the journey to the cloud and how Zscaler actually kind of allowed itself to help you actually get there? And then last of all, as a design partner, what are you looking for roughly in a CNAPP product as we go forward?
Yep. Thanks, Willie. I had to write this down because CNAPP, which is a fairly new term coined by Gartner, there's no less than 8 different cloud security controls that falls under CNAPP. So I had to write all these acronyms down. But I think for the most part, everyone starts out with a CASB, right? It's easy. A CASB, you put in there and you kind of see where your people are going and what data they're putting there. Secondly, you typically, once you start building in the cloud, you implement a cloud security posture management type platform. You want to have visibility into what's going on. You want to make sure those immutable environments don't have any config drifts, and most importantly also compliance reasons as well. And then in parallel, your dev teams are building workloads and containers and also building infrastructure as code. So you also need to have visibility into those areas as well. And that's where probably is the greatest challenge for a lot of security teams, because that's a muscle that they simply don't have. And this is that DevOps pipeline where security really has to inject themselves because everything is moving as a code. Now, once we implemented that, we started noticing just so many access to these environments, privilege access. We're trying to limit it. There's human accounts, service accounts. So we really had to kind of adopt more of a SIM, cloud identity entitlements management platform, also for just-in-time API key rotations, and just really to enforce the zero trust principles of least privilege. On top of that, now we have all these orchestration engines on the back end that manage all our distributed and ephemeral environments. So now there's something called Kubernetes security as a posture management security control as well. Then here comes the data privacy teams asking about data classification, data sovereignty, data residency, and so hence is born data security posture management, DSPM. Well, how about those SaaS apps that we're all using, like Workday, Salesforce, right? We don't own the actual SaaS app, but we own the administration of them. So here comes SSPM now to try to help manage the control plane and the administration of those things. And then lastly, I actually read about this one on the way to the conference. You guys all know about EDRs, NDRs, XDRs, and now there's CNDRs, Cloud Network Detection and Response, which is a more cloud threat specific analytics. So when you take all of this together, our journey has been anything but smooth, very turbulent on the way, but also very exciting as well.
Fantastic. Gene, just close it out with a little bit about what we'd expect to see from a CNAPP platform being one of our design partners and also being an adopter of our platform as a whole.
Yep. So selfishly, I wanted to influence the outcomes of this platform because it is a growing space. Additional security controls keep getting added to it. And I just really wanted to gain efficiencies really in 3 areas: cost, integration, and operations. Cost, I'm no dummy, but I am a product of public school math, and trying to navigate the licensing acrobatics of multiple vendors and their cloud schemas is very, very challenging for someone like me. So consolidating to one platform by one vendor, it just makes those SKUs so much easier. It's the easy button for me. From an integration standpoint, better integration equals better automation. And there's no amount of stitch work I could do with disparate solutions to create a more automated platform as the synergies you would gain from one vendor having that native compatibility. And this, going back to my public school math, this is where going to that platform would be 1 + 1 = 3 for me. And then lastly, operations. I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but single pane of glass, right? It's something that is not achievable, but it should be something that all vendors should strive for. Because the less consoles I have to look at to manage and respond, ultimately better. But none of this is really game-changing per se, because all competitors are going to consolidate and have feature parity with CNAPP. So what I'm most excited about is to see how Zscaler will apply AI and ML models cross-functionally to my unique data sets to produce more accurate and actionable alerts.
Gene, John, thank you very much for your partnership and your business.